Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back for the review of the Osiris Aerial Dominator. If you missed the unboxing video, you can go back and check that out. And if you missed any of the live builds, you can go back and check those out as well. I did build this kit up over a series of live builds. As we're going to start off the review here, I want to take a look at the kit just without the armor on. So I actually haven't put the armor on this kit yet, just built the inner frame, but there were a couple people that asked to see what the kit looked like just as the inner frame, and I think that it looks fantastic, and I would really honestly recommend you guys, if you're going to have this kit and display it, you may want to display it with like a handful of the armor panels off, even maybe like, you know, a quarter of the armor panels off, just to really show off all the incredible detail that you have here with the frame. You will still be able to see a good amount of that, you know, even once the armor panels are on, but there's a lot to admire with this kit being naked here in just the inner frame. It looks really, really amazing here with all those mechanical details, the different shades of gray, silver, and little bits of yellow and red and copper kind of colors all inside there. It looks really, really good. Now, one thing that I want to go over here is just the base before we add all the armor onto it. So you can see the kit's actually wobbling around a bit. That's because the feet actually aren't touching the base as I have it on them. At the moment, it's just suspended via the connection arm there, but we've got this cool bit here at the front that can rotate. We have a couple of different points of articulation for that. This is just like a platform for like a pilot or something to get up into the suit, but that can fold all the way down there. If you can see here, there's this like staircase going up to this walkway there. So some nice details, even this like light post over here. This little bit is actually something we can pop out, and there's a little magnet inside, and the magnet isn't a tight fit in there, so I actually just used like some white Elmer's glue to put in there just to help like keep the magnet in there. But that can be used for turning the LEDs on and off. I like how that's just made to be just kind of like a part of the base there, just a detail of the base. Then even going around here to the other side, some other nice details. You have this thing that's meant to look like a sort of like power generator sort of thing, and even this part, which is meant to look like a sort of like cart there. So I really like this attention to detail here on the base, giving it a more kind of you know, realistic sort of feel to it, in that it's like an actual like hangar where there would be other stuff other than just like the mechanical floor. You have another like catwalk here with stairs going up to this walkway with a railing on it that go over here to like the base of the connection part here. On this side, we've also got this shallow drawer that we'll pull out. I'm not sure what all really will fit in there, as it's not very big, but it's nice to just have that. You could keep some extra batteries or something in there, could certainly be useful. And the front part here, this part here will also extend out to the front there like that, and you can see like some chrome piston details inside there. To be honest, less sure what this part is really meant to be for, but it looks kind of cool anyway with the extended out there like that. And yeah, I just like how you can raise this little platform, and it can extend up pretty high so that you can actually position it so that it looks like it's sort of like right next to the cockpit here. Something like that. Just right there, which is pretty cool. It's all in black, I mean the base, but it definitely could benefit from some painting, but some really nice gimmicks and details for the base actually, so it's really nice. And there's a lot more gimmicks to this to go over that I want to wait until all the armor's on, and then we'll kind of go over everything as much as we can, but there's a lot of how we have the different locking mechanisms up here to connect the binders, and how you have different armor panels that move. Just like, for example, this front skirt panel here that slides. So all these layers of frame that you have here, it's not only just for aesthetic, but there is a lot of gimmicks built into the frame as well, bits that move and parts that shift, and like this part here on the front that can also pull to the front there like that. So it's all going to work really well. I mean, it looks cool here on the frame, but it'll work well once we have the armor panels on. These armor like shifting and sliding gimmicks will expose more parts of the inner frame here and there, and it'll just look really cool. Another example, like here on the leg, for example, these parts of the frame on the inside and outside, those open up like that, and that will allow us to open up this part here at the back where you have some nice details up inside there as well. And when we pull on this part, this whole part will extend down just like that, and then again, it's just a way to expose more of the frame details. But right now it's all frame, so once the armor is on, those gimmicks I think will be even more impressive. So let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll continue on. All right, and then once we got all the rest of the armor on, here is how the kit is looking. It's massive and looks awesome. So we'll take a look through this and go through the gimmicks and the lights and everything on here. There's a lot to go over in terms of just like armor panel moving gimmicks, so much that I'm not gonna be able to cover everything in this video. We're just gonna take a look at a handful of like the armor opening and moving gimmicks and things like that, and leave a little bit of that for you guys to discover for yourself if you end up building this kit, because there's a lot that moves and just a ton of detail packed into this thing that's gonna be hard to show you everything here on video, but I think as you'll pretty easily be able to see, there's a lot to enjoy about this kit if you're looking for something that just has a ton of detail and gimmicks built into it. And so the first thing that I'll point out to you guys, because it's going to make the whole rest of the review easier, is that the binders are very easy to take off and put on. They're just attached via this peg right here that just plugs in right there to the binders. So just to make it a little bit easier to show off the rest of the kit to you, I'll just remove the front ones then. If it is just only the back binders on, it is going to be a bit heavy and it is going to be leaning back, but as you can see, it's still standing up fine, but you will notice that will cause the balance in the waist to be a little bit leaning back there. You can always just reposition the binder a little bit more off to the side rather than straight back or back at an angle. That'll help just to kind of balance that out if you wanted to just keep two on there. But anyway, now that those are off and we can see the body a bit more clearly, I want to talk about the accessories. For our hand options, we have these closed fist hands. The thumb is still on a ball joint, but the fingers are just a closed fist. We're going to be swapping the entire hands for our different hand options. We also have this set of open hands here, which again, the thumb is on a ball joint. The fingers are just fixed, and the open hand, not very expressive, and you've got two of these for the left and the right side. The wrist on these hands does move back and forth though, so some nice articulation. And then we've also got a set of weapon holding hands here, and these are just going to be basically just for the beam saber handles. The beam saber handles are going to be located here in the forearm. You have to, well, you don't necessarily really have to. You lift that tab there and then it will pull out. This is the kind that, again, I find easier to pull out if you use the beam saber effect to plug into there and then pull the handle out like so. So we've got our two clear blue beam saber effect parts here like this for the beam saber handles that are stored in the forearms there, so you can use those either in hand or in the subarms in the binders, which we'll talk more about here in just a moment, but some nice detail even there on the handle as well. And I like that the beam effect parts are kind of like wavy, not just flat and straight. And then aside from the seated pilot figure, which we do have in the cockpit, you have a standing pilot figure here as well, which is sort of in the shape of Marita Cruz loosely, I feel like, but it is having the helmet on the head, unfortunately, so you can't see like the face or anything. It's basically just a female pilot figure here. If you raise up that platform there from the base, you can have your pilot figure stood on here like so, and works pretty nicely. So there's that. And lastly, we've got a bunch of these effect parts in a few different sizes, but one for each of the funnels. Basically, this is going to work with the funnels here on the inside of the binders, and you can see those are in clear blue just because those will light up with our LED effects, which we'll talk more about here in a bit. Like with a lot of the gimmicks of this kit, removing the funnels, I would also just recommend using tweezers, especially for like the armor panel opening gimmicks and things like that. It's going to be a lot of little parts that you need to move sort of carefully. Just using tweezers is helpful. So you're going to remove the funnel from there, plug the funnel effect part onto there where you removed that, and then onto the other end, we're going to plug our funnel onto here. And that's going to look just like that, and it should light up. The light should carry through the effect part if your batteries are good enough. Now that's going to be the question here. I did put some batteries in here. I'm not sure how strong they're going to be. So I suppose we might as well take a look at that right now just while I've got this off, because that is one other thing that I do really like about this. The battery and the LED effects for the binders is all self-contained within each binder. So even though this binder is off from the body, all the LEDs and everything will still work. So if you open up this panel here on the top here, and this panel lifts up, and then also this panel here slides out that little bit right there. And then inside here, this part will also pop out there like that. And in this panel here, this is where you can remove this, just as simple as that, to change the batteries if you need to, just remove that part off. So I like that that's easy to change the batteries. And the other cool thing about this is that there's no switch for the LEDs. The LED is actually activated just by moving this part here. So there's two positions for that. When you just move it up like this, you'll see the LED comes on in there, comes on over here and in here, and I have all these bright lights on, so as you can see, it's still very visible though. And then it has a different effect when you move it up into the next position. It's supposed to go into like a strobing effect where it kind of flashes off and on here like that, and there's even some red light up inside of there. I'll readjust my lights here for a second just so you guys can see that. You can see there's some light up in there. and on here. So you're gonna want some good batteries for that, for getting like the maximum brightness out of those. But as you can see, they go through this whole effect, which is pretty cool there. And then they'll eventually just kind of recycle through that. But let's go ahead and plug our effect part back into this one here and see how well the light channels through there. So you can see it does channel through pretty well. And again, I'll try to show you kind of a bit more here in the dark how that's going to be lit up. As you can see, it is lighting up the blue part there like that when it's going through the cycle. So actually the clear rod works pretty well, and this is like kind of one of the medium length ones. There's some different length pieces, and you can cut the length too if you wanted it to be a bit shorter. You can bend it in different ways if you wanted to, but they already come like pre-bent like this, which is nice, so you don't have to worry about like trying to bend it in a smooth angle. So the effect parts actually work really quite well, it feels like, and once those are all plugged in, I think it's going to be pretty impressive looking. And then just to turn the lights off, you just simply move this back down into the closed position here. And I think that'll just go through like a little like turning off cycle, and then all the LEDs off. But speaking of impressive, just want to also take a minute to make sure to point this out, and you'll see this throughout the rest of the kit, just all the different part separation and details up inside here. You have those red piping parts inside this dark gray, the lighter gray, the white and yellow parts, and the metallic parts that go over the top of that. Some stickers, those little round red circles are just little stickers there from that plastic sticker sheet. And then of course our sub arms here. The sub arm has the gimmick of folding out and then folding out. And there's another one here if you can get to that. Now the only thing that I wish that the sub arm did was I wish that at the base or something it had a point of rotation. As it is, you can't actually rotate it at all. The only part that will rotate is actually the claw itself here, the pincer at the end. Now that will open up, it's just two pieces here like that. That can open like so. It's not very strong though, so let's see, like to hold the beam saber handle in hand, I think it might be a little bit weak. I think it's just a matter of getting it balanced in the right way, because the beam effect is actually kind of heavy and it's kind of weighing it down. But that will of course fit out like through this gap here in the end to have your sub arm kind of sticking out the side of the binder. And again, that looks really cool. Oh, and I almost forgot that aside from the rotation here at the end, this also does extend out a little bit more here at the end. That bit actually extends out there like that, the pincer. So you have a pretty good reach here out to the side from the binder with that fully extended. Now, as for the LED here in the chest, the batteries for that are going to be around here on the back. This center part of the backpack can be removed here pretty easily like that, and then the battery is just right in there, so whenever you need to replace those, not a big deal. And the one part on this kit that has been a bit loose, and I've heard from other people too that have built it that this part has been loose, this part that goes underneath the armor panel here on the chest right up inside there, you may want to glue that into place because that one does have a tendency to kind of keep wanting to pop out of there. But there's a really cool gimmick how you turn on the LEDs here in the chest. You just point the head down underneath the chin. There's a button, so when you're moving the head, you just push the head down and it turns on those LEDs here on the chest, as you can see, really bright there. And you'll notice these are also going through a cycle where they'll spin around. The LED and the mono eye is also lit up there. So there's no LED actually in the head, it's just a LED in the chest, but it feeds up through a clear tube in the neck up in to light up the mono eye there in the head. Really cool how the LEDs look here in the chest. I really like that a lot. Actually, it looks really, really good. And then we can, of course, open the cockpit as well. And this is where I'm definitely going to want to use the tweezers because the cockpit has multiple layers of armor that you kind of have to unfold and pull out here. So you lift this part down to kind of extend that, open that all up, and then there's a little door here that will lift up like so. And then hopefully inside there you can see, so you have that light inside the chest that's lighting up the cockpit. There you can see our seated pilot figure inside there, also just in a spacesuit. So it's not really any particular character necessarily, but that looks super, super cool. That, you know, all like MG model kits usually have like the pilot in the cockpit or whatever, but even when the cockpit is open, it's really kind of hard to see. This, I love that the LED actually lights that up inside there so you can actually see. So if you wanted to actually paint your pilot figure or whatever, it's going to be something that you can actually admire once the kit is all built up. It's not something that you're going to paint and put inside there and never be able to see it again, because even if you opened up the cockpit hatch, it's super, super dark. This is nice and bright inside there with the LED. That's really, really cool. And then again, to turn the LEDs off, we're just going to push the head down once again, like we did to turn on. Push it down and turns them off. Easy peasy. I love that. Also, just want to point out that you don't have to turn on all the LEDs here in the chest. If you just only open up the cockpit part without moving the head, it will just turn on the cockpit light inside without turning on the lights for the beam emitters here on the chest like that. Once the cockpit's opened up, you have all that light inside. The mono eye is not on and the beam emitters are not on, but the light inside the cockpit is on there. That's really cool. Now let's talk about some more gimmicks of the kit, and just kind of starting off with the head. The head does have an armor opening sort of moving gimmick here. I'm gonna try to move these parts around here so you can see pretty well. So this armor piece here at the back of the head will extend back. There you go, that will move back a little bit. That will allow you to move the horn back like so, and then we can lift this part up here like that, and then you can access the mono eye to be able to turn the mono eye in a different direction if you wanted to. So unfortunately the mono eye doesn't like turn automatically when you rotate the head side to side. You do have to position it manually, but by opening that up, it's very easy to get up inside there to change the position of that. And that piece of armor fell out of the chest again. I'll have to put that back again, but you can just close that back up, close that back up, push this part back at the back of the head, and then we're all locked back into place. Let's switch on the LED just so you can see. I just kind of moved that a bit more here off to the one side there like that. Looks really good. Now another gimmick to point out while we're right here at the shoulder. So a couple of things actually. You'll notice that the shoulder kind of falling to the back. The shoulders are able to move forward and back, and then of course you can rotate them, but there's this small piece here on the side that fits into a groove on the peg that when this is open up, that will rotate, but when it's in the like straight position, you just press that part back down and that'll lock that into place there. And so even though these are able to move forward and back and you can rotate them, they will not move up and down. So that's the one kind of feature, because if they did make it so that the shoulders actually move up and down, they have to make that lock into place, their connection to the body. But the way that the arms and the shoulder parts are connected onto the body, the peg is just fixed and won't move up and down at all. So that makes it that there's no way, even if it wanted to, just due to the weight, there's no way that the shoulders would sag down to the sides. So really, really nice engineering on that. Here on the shoulder part, there's this gimmick where this front section can extend to the front a little bit and then slide up like that. Now you may wonder, like, what good does that do? It's actually quite useful for extending the range of the arm, because otherwise this part kind of gets in the way of the arm. So if you're wanting to do a pose using the beam saber handle, for example, moving that part out of the way allows you to bring the arm farther up to the front here like that, which is really nice. So you can see the difference here with this side raised up and being able to bring the arm up that far, whereas on the other side we would be pretty limited as not really being able to bring the arm very far to the front there. So that's actually really, really nice. Now let's turn this around here to the back side and talk about our gimmicks on the back. Even though the Kshatriya doesn't really have much of a backpack, just the back side of the torso acting as a backpack here, we have some gimmicks as well. So this part here at the center will extend up, and then down below that, this part can unfold. And when you unfold that, this yellow part here, I'm not sure if it's like meant to be like the sort of battery or like the energy sort of nuclear reactor that the suit is running on. That's what that's sort of meant to be. That can kind of pop out of there like that, but that just pops back in. You can see how that kind of like folds out of there like that, really cool, and then that closes back down. And then we have these two parts here on the side. So one part will lift up, another part will lift down like that, and then inside there, these sort of like thruster bits in here will slide out. Now it's kind of hard for me to get a good grip on this. Again, I think I'm going to use some tweezers here just to help to pop that out there like that. And then once it's kind of extended out a little bit like that, then you can also adjust this up and down there like that, which again, very cool. The one thing that I did actually miss here on the chest is that aside from the cockpit hatch opening, you also have these panels here that also open up here on the side like that, and that will just basically again allow you to see more of that mechanical detail inside, which is great to see. Now going down here to the skirt armor, we've got some gimmicks on the front skirt. So the side part will open out to the side like that, the front part will extend down, again revealing more of that mechanical detail inside. Love to see that like so. And then this front part here will also extend out to the front slightly like that, and then this part will lift up, again exposing more of that mechanical detail in and around that part at the front. Closes back up like that. On the side skirts, we have this little small panel here that will lift up like that, and this whole top panel also kind of opens up there like that, with again a lot of really cool detail. Even inside there, you don't just have this white piece, but even inside the white piece you have silver and red bits in there for like a thruster detail inside the side skirts there. So when you have that opened up, you can kind of see some more of that detail inside. I think there should be a way to get this to kind of stick a little bit more open like that. But anyway, back around here onto the back skirt, this section is also really impressive because when you hang on to this middle section here and pull this gently like that, you can see the side parts pop out, this part pops up. Super cool. Just once again, close everything back up, pull this, that opens out, and then this part also opens up here like so. And you can see all that really awesome detail on the inside of the back skirt there. The back skirt actually has just like a lot built into that to be able to do this gimmick, and it kind of took me a second to figure it out at first, but just make sure you follow the manual and everything works really, really well. Lastly then, as we've made our way down to the legs, a few more gimmicks to point out to you guys here. There's this back panel on the back of the thigh that pops out and opens up there, revealing a little bit of detail you can see up inside the back of the thigh there. And probably one of my favorite gimmicks here, this white piece on the side of the leg. When you pull this back, it pops out this armor panel here on the side. It pops that out and opens that up there like so. Again, really cool, very satisfying little gimmick there. And that is on both sides, both the inside and the outside. And then again, allows you to see a little bit more of that mechanical detail up inside of there. And then again, down here at the back of the leg, if we open these side panels here on the inside and on the outside, make sure that those are both opened up to unlock the mechanism. This part here at the back lifts up like that, and then when you pull this, these parts will extend down just like that. When you pull that, it does kind of tend to pull this armor panel off the back when you're trying to pull that. So I'm gonna set that aside for a second. When you pull that section back, those parts will extend out and again just reveal more of that mechanical detail both in the back and on the sides here. And then just in case you wanted a little bit more down here on the sides of the feet, these little armor panels here open up there on the side, and then on the top of the foot here as well. I know it's this dark purple part, so hopefully not too hard to see, but there's this little hatch that also opens up on the top of the foot. Again, giving you a little peek inside there to the mechanical detail underneath. And so it's simply amazing. And one more feature to point out to you guys, even though this is on the base and you're probably going to always have this on the stand, so it kind of doesn't really need this. But if you were wondering about, how well does the kit stand without the base, the ankles are on a ratcheted joint here. So if you move the ankle forward and back, hopefully you guys can hear that clicking. And so the ankle is going to be pretty solid enough to hold up the suit without being on the base, I think probably, but for I think most people's purposes, you're just going to be having this on the base all of the time. So you may be wondering like, okay, yeah, the kit can do a lot, but if it can't stand the weight of the binders, then it's really kind of useless. So let's talk about then here finally just the gimmick for holding the binders onto the body. So you have these very large and thick mechanical arms here that have a couple of locking mechanisms. Number one has a lock here on the top, which you can unlock that, and this will allow movement there at the first joint. Otherwise that locks into place. The second joint here is a sliding lock that when you slide that part up, that will allow movement here at the second joint. So you get that into place and then slide that little gray bit on the side back down to lock that. And then for the third and the top lock here, you're going to just pop this section up like that. And then this part will be able to move up and down for the connection to the binder itself. You can close that back up to lock into place, and there you go. Seems quite solid, but the binders are connected onto the shoulder piece, which fits onto a peg that's connected in the torso there, and it's very fixed. So it's really solid for holding everything up, and we don't seem to be having any weight issues at all. But okay, so the kit can do all that, but can the stand actually hold it up if you wanted to do something like an aerial pose? So the stand works very similar to like a Bandai action stand or other action bases. So there's a little lever here that you undo, and then you can extend this up to get it up higher off the ground. Not very substantial there, but it does seem to be enough to be able to hold that. And then here, just underneath the waist section, you can see that little button sticking out to the side. It's the type where if you push the button in one way, it releases the movement of this forward and back. I don't really like this kind of connection as much as like the lever tab that we saw on the backside. But once you get that into the position you want, then you just push that button back through, and then that locks the position of that into place there like so. And so when it all comes together, I think it makes for such an impressive kit here. There was a lot of questions during the live stream about, of course, the quality of the build. And as you saw, if you watched any of the live build, there was a couple of tricky spots here and there where it just kind of took me a second to like get the parts into the right place. Overall, the fit was perfectly fine. I think I didn't have any real issues with that. I think overall, for the amount of parts and details that this has, and armor on top of frame layers on top of frame layers, and everything that's going into this kit, I think it's actually really, really well done. It's very successful in doing what it needs to do. There was a couple tricky spots like along the way putting the kit together, but I made it through it, didn't break anything, didn't have to modify anything, didn't have to sand down any pegs or anything like that to get anything to fit into place. So the quality is really nice. The level of detail is just incredible, and it's able to overcome the main concern that myself and everyone else I think was going to have with this is able to hold up the weight of those massive binders and still able to do different poses and things. Now, obviously that the weight and the size of this kit is going to make it so that you're not able to do, like crazy kung fu poses or anything like that. But I think for how huge and heavy and all the parts and everything that go into this kit to give you all the different gimmicks and armor opening gimmicks and everything else, I think that it does a really good job. It's remarkably stable. And considering your options, if you wanted a kit like this in this scale and in this size and this complexity, you do have like a couple of options, but this one I would say has got to be the best one yet, and it's really, really nice. Equivalent to what I would say probably something like an MGEX, if not a perfect grade, but just considering the scale, I would say comparable to something like an MGEX, which is pretty amazing. And I love that the LED effects work so well. Again, I don't know if those button batteries are going to last very long. Make sure you get some nice new ones, and they'll definitely last long enough to be able to wow you and your friends with the LED effects on there. Unfortunately, they're not the kind of LEDs that you can just like plug into a USB or something to have on all the time, but get some good batteries to put in there and you'll definitely be impressed by the effect that gives the kit. It's really, really cool to see. And so I gotta say, guys, just to address the other main point that was brought up a lot during the live build is if I think it's worth the price, and I would say absolutely yes, just for the size, the complexity, the LEDs and everything else in there. Coming in at the moment at around $215 here at USA Gundam Store, for example, I think very much worth the price of what you get for that. It's a really big, very impressive kit. And I mean, as you can see, it looks fantastic just straight out of the box. I haven't done anything to this. This does also include the decals. I mean, you could panel line this, you could put the decals on and it would look even better. You could put some top coat on it, but I'm happy that it's molded in a kind of satin finish. So even without like a matte top coat, I think it still looks pretty nice. It doesn't have that like really plasticky look to it, I think, but some top coat would certainly help as well. Just make sure you're not spraying matte top coat over the plated parts and the clear parts and stuff, because that'll mess with those a little bit. But like I said, this is one of those kits that you can pretty much just build and put on the shelf as is without doing really anything else to it. Maybe just putting the decals on and it's going to look really, really good. So fantastic kit. Definitely recommend it to you guys. If you're interested, check it out. If you had any other questions about this that I didn't cover in this video, there's a lot to cover in this, so I'm sure I missed some things. If there was something that I missed, do feel free to ask, leave a comment, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for checking out the video here today. Check this kit out here at USA Gundam Store. The link is down in the video description. And as always, thanks so much for all your guys' support. Until next time, hope y'all are having a great day. See y'all later. Bye, guys.